All right, welcome to the CMP Ladies Podcast. Today we have, I'm Elizabeth.
I'm Sibel.
I'm Amber.
And Hannah.
Welcome to our very first podcast. This is the podcast for our summative assignment for the introduction to CMP.
Today's topic is social media platforms and how they provide the user with unique opportunities regarding the ways in which they can choose how to represent themselves, create the events of their lives, and demonstrate different sides of their personalities. We will be referring to two different platforms, comparing and contrasting the ways in which an individual or group might seek to construct versions of themselves, with us paying particular attention to why this might occur and how this occurs. I can't say.
That's all right. It's a podcast. Anyway, we're being our authentic selves today. So I guess we will kick it off with a first question, with giving everyone kind of a chance to answer. So our first question is Instagram versus Facebook as the two platforms that we'll be referencing and comparing today. Sibel, are you a user of Instagram and Facebook?
Yes, I use both of those.
Yeah? Amber and Hannah?
Yeah, I use both as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
I use both. Definitely Instagram more.
Oh yeah.
I use Facebook mostly to message family and friends, but
Yeah. So I think we all remember from one of the very first lectures with Scott is referencing how almost everything is a text. So do we agree that Instagram is a text?
Yeah, I think that anything that can be made meaning of is a text, and there's definitely a lot of meaning that you can find in people's Instagrams, looking through the photos and captions and comments and their bio and links that they put up, and everything you can find some kind of meaning in. You can tell something about the person.
Yeah, no, that's great.
100%.
So kind of like Facebook, so like comparing Instagram and Facebook, what do you use it for, more or less? Like, do you have an answer for that?
Well, I tend to use Instagram regularly, and it's more for sort of expressing more of an artistic side, I guess. It's sort of an artistic identity. And Facebook, I hardly use Facebook, but it's more for keeping in contact with family through the messenger side.
No, I completely agree with that, and I love the artistic side of things. It's almost like a little scrapbook of images and a collation of things. I mean, I know for me, I definitely use Facebook for only family or maybe like event or business side of things, which is great because Facebook offers that whole event kind of notification.
Yeah, that's really good.
But Instagram, it's completely different, and it's up to the user, I guess, how they use it, of course. And
Definitely,
for me, it's more or less a photo album of significant moments in my life, more or less a artistic approach how Sibel goes about it. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a way to express creative identity, because you can edit photos, you can write things and captions and add story posts that only last for 24 hours, which people tend to make quite artsy. You can draw on them, put stickers and
I reckon, I almost feel like Facebook feels a lot more cramped compared to Instagram for some reason.
Yeah, I feel that. The sort of even the layout has a big effect on how we use it, I guess.
Maybe why this is because maybe I know it sounds very stereotypical, of course, but the audience kind of demographics. Maybe Facebook's a bit more straightforward for those because it is well known to be used a lot by the older generations, of course. Bless my grandparents using Facebook. But I don't know, I just feel, of course, like they're both very similar, so they're both platforms that allow us to react, have conversation, to share things, and this function obviously enables us to choose our communities through following, joining groups, being in group chats, of course. I guess this leads to the idea, another part of a lecture that Scott brought up was the coffee house kind of philosophy. Yeah. Does anyone have any kind of like memory of that? I think it was something along the lines of what's that quote, Hannah? Go on.
Where ideas have sex.
You know what?
Oh,
Yeah. And I think it's
Okay, yeah, that's actually a good point, especially with Instagram, about talking about creative identity, and it's a way to express your creative self. You can follow Instagram pages about anything. People have art Instagrams where they just post about art, but with Facebook, you create your Facebook profile, and then you can create other pages and everything, and you can really go into depth with how many like pages you have. But Instagram, it's just like you have an Instagram, and that's it. You can make multiple, which people do, but yeah, it's easier to navigate.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think it's fair to say that the World Wide Web is a coffee house where I think if we didn't have access or exposure to social media platforms, we wouldn't have as much exposure to new ideas, memes, cultural kind of differences, and like news travels faster nowadays.
It does.
And I think this can be definitely shown by the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
I think without that whole the mediascape, things wouldn't have been brought to attention. And it's cool because things are changing, and for the better, of course, I hope. Just to think stuff like this happening 100 years ago, you know?
That wouldn't have the same effect, widespread effect.
Yeah, so...
Easy to really quickly spread information and get inspiration, and you can look through hashtags on Instagram where people can, like, if they post like a drawing that they've done, they can like put the hashtag drawing or like portrait or something. And with the Black Lives Matter movement, they can tag Black Lives Matter, and it's a really easy way to find a whole bunch of information about the topic. And share a lot of information, and
so did any of you guys participate in the Blackout Tuesday little shindig?
No, I didn't do that.
No.
But I had a lot of controversy about it.
Just because of that, that's like the main reason I didn't want to do it.
Ooh, sorry. I think that's a important point to make. So the access that social media allows us to do with sharing all this information, and then all of a sudden there comes this idea and this little movement of posting a black square to show solidarity, and it almost it spread quickly.
It did.
But then obviously it was blocking out information, it was filling up places where people could find information, and I almost think it was almost a troll who started it. We don't know who did it, but it's interesting.
It's really fun.
And all the celebrities got into it. They were all helping with it, and
But like, it wasn't out of bad intent, of course.
Oh, of course not.
So and it almost... Did anyone see this happening on Facebook?
No, it was just Instagram.
So why?
Interesting.
I don't understand. Like,
Facebook is... I've seen people sharing articles, and you can share things directly to your Facebook page, but on Instagram you have to make story posts or post something on your feed, which people don't want to do because, as Sabelle mentioned earlier, it's like your creative identity, and people don't want to like mess up the aesthetic of their Instagram with a Black Lives Matter post.
It's interesting how that comes into play. Like I did post a black square on my story. Obviously that only was on for 24 hours, but I don't know, and it sucks that had to happen, because obviously everyone was wanting to get on board and show their support, but it just kind of backfired accidentally.
Wasn't the right way, I guess.
They thought it was. Didn't really turn out to be that way.
But of course, there are plenty of other ways to show support by voting, donating, sharing, researching, of course, and So going back to the whole, Instagram versus Facebook. Does anyone remember the whole like hiding the likes update on Instagram?
Yes.
Does anyone have any opinions on that?
I think that it was, for me at least, a really great idea to hide the likes on Instagram because it took so much pressure off, because a large majority of the Instagram users today are around our generation, like teenagers and people in their 20s. And the young people that use it are very often more perceptible to the opinions of others, and like
almost validating themselves by the number of likes.
And if they're like, oh, this post didn't get many likes, like, do people not like me, or will people see that this post didn't get many likes and think that I'm not popular or something? And I never had that a lot with my own Instagram posts. Like, I didn't think that a lot, but I did definitely, like, I noticed when I didn't get as many likes on a post as other posts, and I was like, oh, why do people not like this post? Like, I need to post more of that more. And it really just took a lot of the pressure off, because now I just don't even think about it.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, and it's funny because now, since 2012, of course, Instagram is owned by Facebook, and I'm pretty certain that update occurred after 2012, if I do remember. So it's just like, why doesn't Facebook do that? I mean, does it equate to, because obviously it's only likes or love hearts on Instagram, but on Facebook you've got a range of emotions. There's thumbs up, the heart, the angry, the surprise, the laugh. Maybe they kept it there to show that almost very vague range of emotion, and kept it because you can see how much people, if you click on it, how much people reacted with this smiley face or this thumbs up, or
that's quite a recent update too. I think it's in the past year or two.
Oh really? Oh goodness.
Before that, they just had like as well.
Okay, so Instagram has backtracked and Facebook has evolved. Okay, interesting. Right, Amber, you want to take the next section?
Okay, doing main accounts versus Finsta or private accounts. So who has a private account?
I do.
I do.
Me too.
Yeah.
That has one too. Interesting. I also have a private account, or Finsta. Preferably for private account, saying that. But Finsta is the way to do it.
What is a Finsta, Amber?
Finsta is a private account which you have on Instagram, which you have less followers, or you can control who follows you, preferably people that you do know, versus your main account, which could be anyone can follow it. You can have people you don't really know, people who can just find you randomly.
Okay, so it says here, so Finstas are fake Instagrams.
Which is interesting.
Yes.
Considering your like more authentic self.
Because
Supposedly.
you're controlling the people who see the things you're posting even more.
I guess a good question is, why do we have private accounts, or Finstas for that matter?
Personally, for me, it's just less of a worry about what I'm posting. Like, I'm very self-critical on my photos, and I've only really started using Instagram a lot this year and posting photos from uni, but I've had my private for quite a while and I've got more posts on there, and I just don't really care about what I post.
What about you, Hannah?
I don't use my my private as much as I use my public Instagram, but I post a lot more on my private because I just had to worry about it less and worry like I don't worry about like am I annoying people by posting too much or whatever.
Yeah, I haven't really been using my private lately, but yeah, I used to use it as a way to sort of communicate with more people, that people who I'm closer with, more directly as well. Yeah.
I think it's a very common pattern just within our little group here. It's just a way to vent or to put energy and emotions to for a smaller audience, and that to show that you're more vulnerable, of course. I do use it for just literally posting just because I can and I'm bored.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, me too.
So true.
It's just out of boredom.
Yeah.
Usually.
Or it's really fun to do the polls on your Instagram story.
That is true.
Or to like ask a question and everyone who sees your story can respond to it, and they respond not anonymously because you can see who's responded, but if you repost their answers, nobody else can see who it was.
Yeah.
So only you and the person who responded knows who it was and what they said, which is really fun.
And
It's a way for them to communicate directly with you, but if it's like something really funny or really personal that somebody else could learn from, you can post it, but it still keeps identity safe.
I think something, I don't know what the kind of aura around it is, but like the whole no one cares if you spam your private account because that's almost the point. I don't post a lot on my main account, maybe once a month, but like I will post maybe like twice, like I can post like twice a day on my private, and like no one cares.
That's
Almost.
why they followed it.
Yeah,
To
it's
see
good
your
though.
life.
Yeah.
I guess.
Would you argue that it's more authentic as a private account or a main account?
Well, seeing as it's a private account and you're letting your close friends follow it, you feel more comfortable to post whatever you want, basically, and there's less of a filter before you post things. Even there's less of a like actual filter when you post on your public account. Well, for me anyway, I put filters on. Like I edit it, I take my time, I send it to my friends. I'm like, which one do you think I should post? But on my private, I don't even put a filter on it. Like I just post it because I don't care.
Neither.
Yeah, no.
Is there any other points, Amber, under that?
There's some quotes in there.
Quotes? Yeah. Oh my god.
It's all good. We can cut some out.
Yeah. I don't even. I'm not reading properly.
How about the Sophie Stadler quote? You could say that, and we could link it to is it authentic self or?
Sophie Stadler, 18, a student at Fu Foundation School of Engineering and Applied Science at Columbia University, deleted 14 of the 30 followers. There was no followers there. It was inhibiting what I would actually post. I wanted to be more of a natural thing I was doing for myself.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that it's more for me as like an outlet.
Exactly, yeah. So she deleted like half of her followers from her private Instagram because it was inhibiting what she would post. Yeah. So once she'd gotten rid of those followers, she felt more comfortable and could post what she wanted to.
I agree with that actually.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, I guess on that kind of idea of being yourself and doing it for yourself, Hannah, do you want to take it away with your...
So, my question is kind of about authenticity and where the authenticity comes from and your own personal identity. So, I think this is a quote from a lecture as well. The quote's by Diane Mottle, and she says, "To be authentic, you must be yourself, not an imitation of what you think or have been told you should be. which I think is a very good point. But that being said, there's been a lot of discussion this semester about your personal identity and your identity being created by like being a mixture of everything you've ever experienced and all the people around you, all the movies you've watched. You create yourself as like a mashup of everything you've seen. So Graham Allen in his book Intertextuality says authors do not create texts from their original minds, right? So if everything is a text, everyone's an author, right? Anything that can be made meaning of anyway. So yeah, it's like, is your identity really not an imitation of what you've been told you should be, or is it?
Well, I think. Okay, that's a very good point. So just looking here, there is a quote from Chuck Palahniuk. Nothing of me is original. I am the combined effort of everyone I've ever known. Yeah. So that being said, my identity is a group project.
Yeah, there's actually a quote about identity being a group project as well by Florence Escobedo.
Go for it.
Were you going to say that one?
Alright, is it just that whole thing?
No, here, the one I highlighted.
Okay, so you cannot construct your identity by yourself. That's impossible. You need the help of others to construct your own identity. In that case, identity is a group project.
Yeah.
So that being said, identity is a group project. So you are being influenced by those creating the group project, which is obviously leads to the whole state versus intimate flows of power or influence.
Yes.
Does anyone know what those are?
Yeah.
Yeah? do you want to have a go?
Yeah, so the flows of power is basically about like everyone, all of your influences are because of like the people around you, and the people that have the most power tend to influence you more. So for the like legal systems, those power systems, the state power system, there's like government, army, police, legal systems, and they influence you and like what you can do, what you're allowed to do. And then there's the intimate power flows, which are like friends and family, like your religion,
social media, of course.
Exactly, social media. So that kind of leads on to hang on, sorry, let me just find the bit I was gonna say. That leads on to like social media and the people that you follow and the people that follow you influencing what you post.
Yes, no, I agree, because what do I do first thing in the morning? I look at my phone, not only to turn my alarm off, but to see what's been happening in the news, what messages are being sent, you know, and I look at my feed and it's a collation of interests and people I know and people I want to know, and news, of course. And so I think I wouldn't have been able to look or maybe feel or sound the way I am without the things I follow.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I've almost enriched what I was interested in before I got social media. That's been a good point. And
it kind of leads on to the social constructionism thing, that everyone you follow and everything you experience, your friends and family, all those influences, they're all built within a structure of like social relations, and like they all influence you and basically change you as a person and create your like identity and make you authentic to yourself. So maybe authenticity is you creating something new out of everything that you've experienced and turning that into yourself, I guess.
because David Bowie.
Oh, yes. my
Classic.
favourite quote.
So, are you original? Said the interviewer. Not by any means. More like a tasteful thief. The only art I'll ever study is stuff that I can steal from. So, are we stealing from who we follow?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess so.
I think
Technically,
definitely.
Yeah. Even if it's like you're inspired by someone's Instagram post, or you look on somebody's feed and they've used the same filter on every photo or something, and you're like, oh, I could use the same filter on every photo.
Yeah.
You know, you're
Yeah.
stealing that idea from them
Yeah.
and turning it into something else and creating your own identity.
Yeah, and I find a lot of those ideas sort of come subconsciously as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
The influences.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially with the more intimate stuff, like your family and friends.
Yeah.
It's so subtle when you do pick up or imitate
Yeah.
such things,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's also like that you talking about doing something without realizing.
Yeah.
So every creative decision that we make, whether you realize it or not, reflects how you
Yeah.
see the world and what you think is
Yeah.
normal and what you think you should be like.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we put things online on your Instagram that's public, and people just a term that I've heard, or something that I've heard a lot of people say just in general before even discussing this topic, before coming to university, people are like, oh my gosh, she's so fake on her Instagram, or something
Yeah.
like that. Is it fake, or is it authentic to yourself?
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess it depends on the individual and sort of what they hope to get out of what they're sharing
Yeah.
with everyone.
Yeah, and it's like you pick and choose parts of your life to put online.
yeah, you
And
can
once-
literally
yeah,
have so
and
much control.
Once it comes from you, to me at least, in some way, everything that comes from you and from your brain is authentic in some way,
Yeah.
because it's not exactly
Yeah.
the same as anything else.
No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so picking and choosing what you put online, is that fake or is it authentic? Because
So good.
even now, the conversation that we're having, we might not have this conversation with somebody else. Does that mean that we're not authentic with someone else because we haven't said everything that we're possibly thinking about? You know, like even my friends back in Christchurch, I would tell them things that I wouldn't tell you guys about.
Yeah.
I would tell you guys things that I wouldn't tell them about. Does that mean I'm not being authentic to one group of friends? Or does that mean I'm just completely fake? Or does that mean I'm being authentic to both of you?
It's almost like it just depends on the context, the time, the relationships. I mean, yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I think no one truly knows anyone.
Yeah.
And even yourself. You
Yeah.
just don't truly know. But
Yeah.
that's the whole. But-
Yeah, there was that
Yeah.
quote about you might know yourself or you might know someone else. But
It's
do
like-
you know yourself the way somebody else knows you?
Yeah. So how I perceive
Yeah.
myself is completely different to each one
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah, and
Um,
each of your friends has it, like each of you has a different perception of me because
Yeah.
you've had different experiences of me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm not being authentic to all of you. It just means that you've seen a different part of it. Like if you were to watch a 5-minute clip of a movie where there's a really violent scene, but the rest of the movie there's no violence, you might perceive that, oh yes, this is a violent movie, because
Yeah.
you base your judgment on the 5 minutes that you've seen without seeing the rest of it.
That's so true.
And it relates to the whole being so quick to judge, and maybe we link this to call out culture. I mean,
Yeah.
on social media and those little tiny squares of life, people are so quick to assume and judge
Yeah.
through those little snapshots of someone's life that we only have access to so much. And I guess like being authentic, people have so much power when anonymous, and people are so
Exactly,
quick
yeah.
to call out, which sucks because I don't know, I feel like yes, there's that times where bringing someone accountable for their actions is needed, especially in the light of these recent days. But because people have this power and it's almost people take it for granted, you know. I found a bunch of comments on my own feed and I'd like to read them out to you. So this one girl said, "Oh God, is everyone getting cancelled in 2020?" And someone replied, "2020 cancelled itself, lol, so looks like it." And then someone said, "I mean, until everyone starts acting decent, yeah." And then another person replied, "If they are racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, etc., then yes, these people need to be held accountable." So my question is, well, here's my first statement. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone is entitled to an opinion. Everyone might agree with everyone's opinions, but so and so. So if someone is racist, homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, etc., that is an opinion of themselves, that they have that opinion, and that's theirs, that they believe such things. So we say everyone's entitled to their opinion, except these particular opinions are not right. And that is based entirely on the time we are in. And of course, we would all agree. Of course, being racist or homophobic is absolutely horrible and shouldn't be allowed. So then where does the line draw with everyone's opinions matter? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of, I've heard a post on the internet, I read a post somewhere that said you can have your opinion as long as your opinion doesn't go against somebody else's existence.
Okay.
Because their existence isn't doing anything, it's not harming you. So you're just hurting them.
You're right,
because
you're
of
right.
their opinion.
Yeah.
And it's not a reasonable opinion to have, in my opinion, that somebody shouldn't exist because of their gender or their sexuality or their race.
No, very good point.
Yeah.
And I guess
it's about how people go about it, about having those conversations with people that have these opinions. I was watching a YouTube video the other day, and at the beginning, this YouTuber, her name's Jasmine Chan, she had put a little message at the start about the current Black Lives Matter movement, and I wrote down what she said. She said, it's quite long, but she said, "I've realised that call-out culture has become very prominent throughout different platforms, and I think that we need to realise that everyone has their own opinions and they're allowed to have their own opinion. If their opinion is different from yours, let's not be so quick to call them out on it. Let's bring it into discussion and try to understand each other. It takes more than social media to understand the racial injustice in this world. The battle for social change is going to take a very long time, but if we persist, it will happen." So it's kind of about like changing the types of conversations that people are having, and just posting on your social media isn't going to change the world.
No.
It's going to affect it, but it's not going to completely turn around and make everybody anti-racist.
Yeah, there's always a need for more physical action, but obviously not harmful. But
And having actual discussions about things instead of just posting something on your story that everyone can just tap past and just not read it and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm not racist, I don't need to think about that." But a lot of people are without realising it, and they say things that they don't realise will hurt other people, so it's important to bring those into conversation rather than just be like, "Yeah, we don't agree, let's not talk about it."
And I think, just a quote from Scott's call-out lecture, "The current globalised mediascape has given both agency and platform to voices previously locked out of any representations but conversations too." And that is very true. Having social media has given all sorts of people of any race or gender or religion a chance to have a voice that can be, typically heard worldwide.
Yeah.
But then there's still that idea of, well, we've kind of transformed to that medium, but now that same hatred and that same discrimination, instead of being face to face in a small country or like in a small space within their country, is now happening globally through a World Wide Web.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how or why humanity has just adapted to that and then continued their behaviours,
It's happened so quickly too, and everyone's sort of forgotten. I don't know how it was before. I guess all this, the use of these social media platforms.
Yeah. Do you agree that history repeats itself?
Oh. I think sadly, yes. I think so.
Yeah.
There's at least an aspect of it.
An aspect,
And
yes.
now that we've got social media, people are like, oh yeah, I'll just post something on my story and then it will be fine. Like, I've done my post, I don't need to worry about it anymore. Like, a quote from Assam Ahmad: calling someone out isn't just a private interaction between two individuals, it's a public performance where people can demonstrate their wit or how pure their politics are. Indeed, sometimes it can feel like the performance itself is more significant than the context of the call out.
That's so true.
Yeah, so that's like people posting on their story on social media or just posting in general. Sometimes it feels like they're doing it just because they feel like they have to, rather than actually to spread awareness. Like, you might just repost something that you've already seen before.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah, I've done my bit now.
And I think one of the tools that Instagram offers is the archive tool, where you can not delete completely, but hide stories and hide posts. I guess it either hinders identity or almost creates it, because hindering off is obviously you're taking away aspects and hiding them just for you, but then they often create identity too, because now it's a smaller bunch of images, but it's still you. So I don't know.
But you're always changing. That's the thing. Like, you can look back at a photo and be like, but I'm not like that anymore. I wouldn't post something like that. Why would I? Like, you could post something that could be offensive and you'll be like, but I'm not like that. My mind has changed. Like, and you'll have to.
Well, I have a story, a quick Greek little theory here. So it's called the boat of Theseus. Theseus was a Greek, I think, soldier. He was a mythical king and hero of Athens. And the ship of Theseus is a theory of identity. So this was the ship that he rowed to go on to great missions and battles, etc. And he docked it in this Greek harbour. And over time, without use, it kind of wore down, so people replaced it to keep it there, because obviously it was an object of history and greatness. So over time, at one point, the ship was completely refurbished.
Every part of it.
Every part of the ship was refurbished. But the question was that ship still Theseus's ship? I mean, the soul of the boat, yes, because it was still the ship that went off with him and took him to these places. But physically,
it was made of something different. But I guess that's also kind of like, say my consciousness was transferred into somebody else's body. Is it me still? I think so.
It's like the brain.
But then the brain is also a physical part. So if my consciousness was put into somebody else's brain without any physical parts, I think it would still be me. So is it the same with the boat, because it's still been to, like, the idea of it has been to all of those places. It carried him that distance.
And I think that relates to humans as well. So we chop our hair, we lose teeth, we grow new ones, we break bones,
Yeah,
they
all
mend, we
cells have been replaced
Yeah.
after a certain number of years. I think
Yeah.
it was 7 or something.
but we are still, I am still Elizabeth after 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm trying to say with like social media is I'm still me through these squares. It's
Yeah.
just a more refined me, a more slick looking me. I'm trying to put the best parts of me forward because
Yeah.
I think anyone would like to do that,
Yeah, I
to
don't
seem,
think that's bad. So
No.
when everyone is like, yeah, you're fake on Instagram.
I think it's
Is that-
taking pride in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing to pick and choose parts of
Mm.
yourself,
Definitely not.
because there's parts that in life without Instagram that you would share with other people and not with others.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call that being fake. I would
No.
just call that being like keeping things to yourself and being a personal
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, identity really does determine what we do, how we react, how we see ourselves, and how others see me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, no, I think that is us for today. Are there
Yeah,
any
yeah.
last additions to that?
Basically just these are a lot of unanswerable questions.
Yeah.
We can discuss them as much as we want to and we can have our opinions on it, but there's no way, like none of them are right or wrong.
No.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Too profound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For one answer.
And the two, the Instagram and the Facebook, we construct different versions of ourselves to adhere to the purposes and the way we see the app.
Instagram is more like you share these things with your friends to try and put the best parts of yourself out to
A
see your
visual
friends.
Yeah.
representation.
And on Facebook, you comment on other people's posts, you message people.
Yeah.
It's, for me at least, it's mostly
Yeah.
communication.
Mm.
So it's just different versions of yourself that are both as authentic as each other.
Yeah.
It's just different parts of you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Sibel. That has been the Ladies of CMP. I guess till next week. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.